Coming up, as Indiana continues to battle the COVID-19 pandemic, efforts are underway to reopen the state's economy. A post-pandemic response team has been assembled to help businesses churn again. In our top story, Indiana Secretary of Commerce Jim Schellinger will talk about goals and how quickly Indiana can get back to business. Plus, Indiana University and IU Health collaborating in a quest to ensure better patient outcomes. Also help Hoosier businesses keep employees safe. IU President Michael McRobbie and IU Health CEO Dennis Murphy will join us with news of lessons learned during the crisis that could have long-term implications for other health issues facing the state.
I'm Mary Rachel Rudman at one of the biggest puzzle manufacturers in the country, right here in Tipton, Indiana. I'll tell you how the coronavirus pandemic has prompted the revival of the puzzle coming up.
And details on those stories and much more ahead on this edition of Inside Indiana Business. Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. The numbers continue to be staggering. The number of positive COVID-19 cases in Indiana has soared well beyond the 12,000 mark, more than 600 plus deaths. But amid signs that Indiana just might be flattening the coronavirus curve, efforts are well underway to reopen the Indiana economy. What will that reopening look like and how soon could it happen? For some answers, I'm pleased to welcome to the show Indiana Secretary of Commerce Jim Schellinger. Jim, welcome as always.
Always a pleasure.
Jim's coming to us from the Social Media Lounge. And Jim, first of all, that's the question on everyone's mind. Everyone anxious to get the economy back going again. Any idea when could this begin to happen?
Well, the governor's made it very clear, I think, to everyone that he will focus on protecting Hoosiers first and foremost. And I can tell you, Governor Holcomb's got a moral compass in his head that is second to none. So that's his first priority. How do we open safe? How do we open in the right stages? And third, how do we open to the new norm? Because we will not do business the way we used to do business for the foreseeable future. So it's going to be done in stages. He announced some of it last Friday. He may have announced some today or Monday. But it's going to be done in phases, and it's going to be dependent upon, one, safety, and two, frankly, the PPE supplies we have, because most companies are going to need PPE supplies. And right now, we're barely being able to get all the stuff we're getting for the hospitals and the healthcare workers. So it's going to be a combination of a lot of things. He's very attentive to it. He's doing it regionally. So he's planning with governors of Illinois, Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. They're all grouping together to understand and do things as a region, which I think is remarkable, and how they're coordinated day to day. So I do think, while I don't have an answer exactly when we'll be at full go in terms of the market, we've begun. And I think we'll continue that process. And that's why the governor announced the week before last the Indiana Economic Relief and Recovery Plan study that's being done by our team. I'm co-chairing with Chris of OMB, Chris Johnston, and we've selected 6 of the finest minds in Indiana to help us work through the federal guidelines and all the things we've done in terms of taking surveys from over 15 associations and organizations so that we can combine that with the health department's recommendations and come out with a safe plan.
Yeah, Jim, you mentioned a phased return to normalcy in the economy, and you mentioned the PPE, the personal protective equipment. I know you, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, been very active in trying to acquire more of that PPE material.
Yes, we have. We've had a team of 5 people as we turned into more of a concierge service. We're still closing deals, and we're having a remarkable year in spite of all this tragedy. But we have a team that focuses on that every day, mostly in the nights too, because we're contacting countries that are on different time zones as us. But to date, I think today we'll surpass 6 million pieces that we've purchased and ordered. 5.8 was yesterday, so I believe we'll go over 6 million today. And it's, I think, important to state that about 530,000 of those were donated by Indiana companies, donated to us. So everybody's in this together. And 1,000 of our masks that we're ordering from Hence, H-E-N-T-Z, Hence Manufacturing up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So we're proud that where we're buying a lot of these are from in-state companies.
Yeah. Jim, as you look at the impact, certainly a widespread impact, existing businesses, companies in the state certainly are and will take a hit. But as you look at your efforts at the Indiana Department of Commerce as Secretary of Commerce, how's it affecting economic development and economic development deals, not only in this country, but globally?
Well, it's certain. I think our small businesses are really the ones that are getting hit hardest, although some businesses have chosen to shut down. Some of our automobile plants in the state have chosen to shut down for a time period through May 1. They didn't have to, but they chose to do that. But our Small Business Association is working really hard. We worked with the PPE, Paycheck Protection Program, on the first phase of the third stimulus package, the CARES Act, and now there's phase 2. They'll probably vote on tomorrow, which is a total of $450 billion that will be approved, 310 of it, which will go to the Paycheck Protection Program. So we're working with them to make sure we help our businesses any way we possibly can.
You mentioned some of these temporary shutdowns. Honda late in the week announcing it is actually extending its shutdown in Greensburg to May 8. But given that, and certainly the state from an economic development standpoint, the IEDC and your efforts around the globe, Indiana coming off another record year, was looking at a really good 2020. Any way to predict where the economic development ball may be going once the economy begins to open back up here?
Well, it's going really well for us in spite of everything. As I mentioned before to you, Gary, businesses have a longer time frame that they look at, say, than we have to do with health crisis. So they're planning things out 2 years in advance. And we're really having a good year so far. We've had 90 projects close, 9,060 jobs, and a CapEx of about $1.2 billion. And we have 72 projects in our pipeline that represent over 13,000 jobs and $4.8 billion in CapEx. And so we're targeting the top 27. We're working on very diligently that we think we have the best shot at getting at. And if we get those top 27, that'll be about 9,000 jobs with about a $3.6 billion CapEx, which would take us to 18,000 jobs, and it would take us to $4.8 billion in CapEx. So I think we're having a really good year. And the Holcomb administration is only 1,533 jobs away from 100,000 jobs in 3 years and 4 months.
Final question, Jim, to kind of reiterate as we look at this reopening of the economy. As you stated earlier, this is going to be a phased process. It's not going to be a light switch turning on. It's going to be a phased process. It's going to happen over the course of time.
That's correct. And I think people understand that. Like I said, the governor last week announced the relief of some of the businesses that are either in grooming of dogs or haircut and barbershops and things like that are going to be able to reopen. They are already. And I think he'll continue to add to the list. But as I said, the ones that could be the most unsafe are going to be the last to get restarted. And the ones that require a significant amount of PPE, like some of the elective surgeries. As a recipient of 2 artificial hips and an artificial knee from Warsaw, Indiana, from Zimmer Biomet, I can tell you that's a very laborious exercise to do that, and a lot of PPEs required. So some of the electric surgeries being implemented as we speak, dentistry and others, and I think we'll see that gradually increase. But for now, the focus is on the loss of lives in Indiana and cases, new cases, and the most important thing, Gary, I think that we're going to have to be able to do to come out of this completely is have a great testing and tracing program. Every business is going to need that, and I think you'll see a different way of doing it.
All right, Jim Schellinger is Indiana's Secretary of Commerce. Jim, as always, thanks for joining us. Stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Gary.
All right. Well, the state's higher education institutions are stepping up in a big way and important ways to deal with the pandemic. That is helping to transform education and healthcare. Up next, Indiana University President Michael McRobbie and IU Health CEO Dennis Murphy will join us with details. And as the crisis continues, we are continuing to share COVID-19 business resources being offered throughout Indiana, like this one from the state. For a complete list of COVID-19 resources, just go to our website, InsideIndianaBusiness.com. COVID-19 research at Indiana University urgently focused on ways to detect, treat, manage, and ultimately eradicate the threat of the deadly coronavirus. The IU School of Medicine, in conjunction with IU Health and Eskenazi Health, currently engaged in a number of clinical trials of possible antiviral medications and treatments to help individuals who contract a severe form of the virus. Now, with more on collaboration and how they are efforting through this process, I'm pleased to be joined by Indiana University President Michael McRobbie and the CEO of IU Health, Dennis Murphy. Gentlemen, thank you both for being with us.
My pleasure to be here virtually.
Yes, virtually indeed, via Skype. And Michael, I'll start with you. The challenges faced by Indiana University, really reinventing the way you're delivering education, keeping your massive staff and employees safe, but also continuing the work of the university. I know it's had to have been an incredible challenge.
Well, it was an enormous challenge. In 2 short weeks, we had to convert this whole massive university, multiple campuses, 100,000 students, 40,000 faculty and staff, from the traditional model of education into all online in 2 weeks. It was accomplished. It's working successfully. I mean, it's a huge tribute to our faculty and staff and to the forbearance of our students to be able to cope with this change to their lives. And all of that was achieved in the context of obviously concerns about the personal safety of all of the individual involved. And to us, there were 2 critical things. One was to ensure the safety of our faculty, staff, and students through this process. And the second was to ensure the continuity of our education enterprise and of our research enterprise at the same time.
And Mike, this is ongoing. Obviously, Mike, as you look ahead to the fall, everyone wondering what this new normal might look like and the delivery of education. Any thoughts or perspective on students coming back to campus in the fall?
I'm very optimistic that we will certainly see some students back on campus in the fall. The big question is going to be how many and under what conditions. I think it's too early to know the answers to those questions at the moment. There's an enormous amount happening out there. We have to be concerned about a recurrence of COVID-19 in the fall, as the CDC director just talked about a few days ago. And I think what we'll be working on over the next few months is exactly what that model will be. We intend to take a phased approach, Gary, to restarting the university. And certainly at the moment, we are looking at, in the very short term, how we can get our research enterprise fully functioning again and then work towards the full semester in that way.
Dennis, likewise, a huge challenge for IU Health, a massive footprint around the state, keeping employees safe, but also delivering services as well.
Yep, Gary, it's been a real challenge, but it's been great to have partnerships with IU as we go through this. Our School of Public Health has helped us think about the demand that we face. Our School of Medicine faculty, School of Nursing graduates and their faculty have been the backbone of our response to this. And thankfully, we've been able to see our employees feel like they've got an incredibly safe and effective work environment, and that we've been able to treat patients in the way that we think are appropriate. You're not seeing here in Indiana what you've seen in New York or Seattle or some other cities.
Yep. Yeah. And Dennis, I know you feel, though, you want to make sure these patient outcomes are the best possible that they can be. But I know you, as we talked off camera, you feel that the collaboration with 2 great institutions, IU Health, Indiana University, can lead to future positives on things like infant mortality and other pressing challenges for Indiana.
Yeah, Gary, I think we've seen the benefit of what working together collaboratively and bringing lots of talent sets to the table to work on a very focal, important problem can do for us in a very short period of time. If you think about what we've been able to accomplish in 60 days on this topic, bringing that same effort to those really vexing public health issues in the state, I think that's our opportunity as we go forward and get this under control.
And Michael, we only have a short period of time here, about 30 seconds, but as you look again toward the fall, you're anticipating perhaps maybe some hybrid solution in terms of students on campus and the way education is going to be delivered.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely outcome, that we'll be de-densifying our campuses in various ways. But at the same time, we'll see an on-campus presence as well. And I must say, just if I can add to what Dennis said, I think this whole crisis has shown that it's vital to invest in public health. And I think we've learned from that just how important it is to invest in public health.
All right, some great perspective, as always, from IU President Michael McRobbie. Also, Dennis Murphy, the CEO at IU Health. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us via Skype, and stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Coming up next, Purdue University continuing to lend expertise and resources to help the fight against COVID-19. I'll chat with Purdue Research Foundation Chief Innovation and Collaboration Officer David Broker about increasing Indiana's testing capacity for the virus thanks to a partnership with the Indiana State Department of Health and some Indiana hospitals. It's time now to go inside innovation, brought to you by Allegion, pioneering safety. Well, Purdue University President Mitch Daniels said this week the university is planning to welcome students back to campus in the fall with precautions that could include COVID-19 testing for students, faculty, and staff that would be processed in a Purdue lab. Now, if that happens, it will be the result of an all-hands-on-deck effort that led to the start of COVID-19 tests for human patients being conducted in a specialized lab at Purdue's College of Veterinary Medicine. Just a few days ago, that happened. Purdue Research Foundation Chief Innovation and Collaboration Officer David Broker tells me the lab was certified to conduct the human testing in just a few days, thanks to the work of the foundation, Parkview Health in Fort Wayne, and the vet school as well.
Through the PRF organization, we were able to get a plane, fly from West Lafayette to Fort Wayne, pick up samples from Parkview, fly them to this molecular testing lab called Diacarta out in the Bay Area. They had what's called a CLIA lab to be able to do this kind of testing. And we proved that if we could cut out the sample transit time, we could turn around results in 24 hours. So then it became a situation of where can we find a CLIA BSL2 lab.
Well, in fact, they found that lab right in their own backyard, a specialized biosafety lab 2 in the School of Veterinary Medicine at Purdue, and in a matter of just 11 days got that lab certified. Broker believes Purdue can play a major role as the focus of testing shifts from inpatient to safely opening up the economy, colleges and universities. Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Michigan State among schools looking at the Purdue model for possible testing solutions. Well, hand sanitizer and toilet paper, they're not the only things flying off the shelves these days. Jigsaw puzzles are in high demand too.
We were getting a huge demand for our manufacturing of games and puzzles. It didn't take long for the market to run out.
The pandemic puzzles and how a Tipton company is putting the pieces together to meet increasing demand. Around Indiana reporter Mary Rachel Redmond has the story next. What's making news now around Indiana. Well, with restaurants closed and Hoosiers stuck inside, they are cooking more at home, and that's having a huge impact on the state's poultry market. Indiana, home to some of the largest egg producers in the United States, including MPS Egg Farms, a family-owned operation in North Manchester. The company saw sales jump 100% during the first week of the pandemic. MPS Vice President of Business Development Sam Krause says that although the run on eggs has calmed, sales remain up at least 30% over last year, and demand is taxing the system.
I would describe it that the entire supply chain is pretty stressed. Everything from cartons and materials, eggs, our plants, everything is just working to the maximum to keep the shelves full.
MPS supplies 100% of its eggs to retailers, including Kroger. Well, a Northwest Indiana steel manufacturer and a Westfield-based steel supplier have announced layoffs as a result of the pandemic. ArcelorMittal USA said it is placing 200 employees in East Chicago on temporary unpaid furlough. Meantime, Westfield Steel is also reducing its workforce. The steel industry supplier says it's temporarily laying off about 40 workers at operations in Westfield and Terre Haute. Well, with social distancing the new normal and people stuck inside looking for something to do, the puzzle industry has seen a huge uptick in sales. Around Indiana reporter Mary Rachel Redmond has more from one of the largest puzzle manufacturers in the country right here in Indiana.
With non-essential businesses shutting down across the state, Package Right in Tipton, Indiana was no exception. But with the surge of people staying home, puzzles have suddenly become a hot ticket item, which presented a unique opportunity for Package Right Vice President Pat Kulsajak.
When the governor of Indiana decided that it was time for businesses in Indiana to close on March 24th, we immediately closed our facility. We immediately all wanted to just get home to our families. Interesting enough, as time went on, we were getting a huge demand for our manufacturing of games and puzzles. It didn't take long for the market to run out. As a result, we got our staff together and started talking through some of the issues. I proposed a letter to the governor's office, and I asked for permission to open up under certain restrictions and certain circumstances. I was granted permission.
And since opening back up for business, demand for puzzles has skyrocketed, with customer demand up 50% in just the last 2 weeks. And it doesn't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. In fact, Kulsajak says he's looking to hire another 60+ people to help with the workload.
During this time of the year, we would have 130 to 140 people working. We're averaging right in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 across 2 shifts. We employ locals. 90% of the people that work in this facility drive less than 25 miles to get to work. We're averaging right in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 across 2 shifts. So I have a need for another 60 people. If every one of my employees decided tomorrow that they were going to come back with the demand of the puzzle right now, I could use another 50 people.
And during this time of uncertainty, Kulsajak says providing families with a fun distraction is what gives he and his team the most satisfaction.
It's wonderful. I mean, we absolutely love what we do here. And we love what we do because of who we're impacting. And when people are working our puzzles, and we know that we're the ones, and when we go to the websites and we see the great feedback that we get from the puzzlers out there, it just drives you. It drives you to want to do more.
Mary Rachel Redmond, Inside Indiana Business.
All right, Mary Rachel, thank you. Well, the coronavirus has also hit nursing homes especially hard. One Central Indiana startup is working to provide support to more than 500 facilities in Indiana, gaining some traction as well. More on what ProbeRe is all about in our Business of Health report with Kylie Valletta. Also ahead, we introduce you to a hands-on learning alternative during this age of e-learning. Details on first makerspace takeout STEM kits in our Eye on Education segment. Well, nursing homes and assisted living facilities in Indiana are among the hardest hit by COVID-19, with a significant share of deaths caused by the coronavirus. State leaders are tapping the private sector to help attack the problem, and among its partners, Indianapolis-based startup ProbeRe. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta joins us now with more. Kylie.
Thanks, Gary. ProbeRe means proven in Latin, and that's a reference to the startup's roots, an academia-based project to improve quality of care at nursing homes. Founded 2 years ago, the startup's goal is to reduce the number of unnecessary transfers to hospitals. That mission remains, but like so many Hoosier companies, the startup is now pivoting and using its expertise to help the more than 500 nursing homes in the state battling COVID-19. Here to tell us about the startup's new contract with the state is Dr. Kathleen Unroe, founder and chief executive officer of ProbeRe. Dr. Unroe, thank you for being here on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, before we get into your startup's response to COVID-19, let's talk just about its general mission. Tell us a little bit just about what ProbeRe does.
So ProbeRe was created out of Optimistic, a clinical demonstration project funded by CMS, a $30.3 million project designed to reduce avoidable hospital transfers of nursing facility residents. So we work at ProbeRe in partnership with nursing homes to reduce these transfers, improve care in place. And we do that through implementing an evidence-based nurse role that is supported with protocols, workflows, and software that we've tested.
Okay, and important to mention, much of this work taking place at Regenstrief, where you are a researcher, also one of ProbeRe's investors. So like so many companies in Indiana right now, you're pivoting a little bit and taking your skill set and applying it toward this health crisis. So tell us exactly what ProbeRe is doing and about your new partnership with the state.
Yes, so I'm a geriatrician and I'm a nursing home physician. And I started volunteering in nursing homes when I was 10 years old, and I just, the first thing I want to say is that my heart is with every frontline nursing home staff and provider in the country right now. You know, as Gary said, this is a very intense time for nursing facilities and assisted living facilities. My team at ProbeRe are trained in geriatrics, palliative care, and implementation of best practice in nursing homes. So we were really searching for how can we connect and how can we support best during this time. And I'm so grateful to be connected to the incident command for the non-hospital response to COVID-19 in Indiana. So we have a contract with the Indiana State Department of Health to support and extend the nurse surveyor resources. So our ProbeRe nurses are calling nursing facilities and assisted living facilities across the state. We're delivering test results. And we're also doing education and training around best practices for infection control at this time.
And you explained it to me off camera. It's almost like growing the State Department Health, their employee base. It's kind of like extending their workforce in a way.
Well, I mean, our goal is to offload and extend their reach. You know, we have 540 nursing facilities in Indiana and many assisted living facilities as well. And they all need support right now. This is just really, you know, such a difficult time. And also new guidance is being put out all the time as we learn more and more about best practices for this condition in this setting. And so there's the need for continued education, outreach, and reinforcement.
Helping guide them for sure. This time for nursing homes, like you said, it really is a tragic time for them. It also is shining a light on your startup. Explain how that's really helping show what your startup is capable of doing.
Well, what we do is long-term solutions for root cause problems and issues in nursing facilities. So our nurse role is dedicated to systematic advanced care planning, so understanding resident and family goals for care and how to honor them, recognition of an acute change in status and being able to communicate that clearly and get a plan in place to monitor and treat acute illness. So all of this is critical right now during the pandemic. And my hope is that there will be increased interest in investing in resources like what we offer to support these type of resources in nursing facilities long term. They're very needed now, but they're needed every day. We take care of very medically complex and frail and vulnerable residents in this setting. Now I feel like everybody is becoming very aware of this, but before COVID-19, a quarter of long-stay nursing home residents transfer to the hospital in a year. So it's common that nursing facility residents need this kind of support. It's just that much more intense right now. So yes, I think this is shining a bright light on some of the issues in nursing home care, but also in communication between nursing homes and hospitals to nursing homes. And I hope that there can be attention to long-term fixes for some of those issues. And that's a lot of the kind of things that our company can help with and have spent years doing research on and studying at Indiana University in Regenstrief.
All right. Well, Dr. Unruh, I know you certainly have your hands full, and best of luck to your startup as you help guide the state through this. I appreciate your time and being on the show today.
Thank you so much.
And Gary, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Well, we told you in our first half hour about Purdue University getting a lab in its College of Veterinary Medicine certified to process COVID-19 tests on humans. Now, the lab could be used to test students, faculty, and staff as they return to campus this fall. The effort to get the lab certainly happened very quickly. 11 business days, a collaboration among the Purdue Research Foundation, the Vet School, Indiana State Department of Health, and Parkview Health in Fort Wayne. PRF Chief Innovation and Collaboration Officer David Broker tells me the lab and Purdue can play an important role in testing as the focus shifts from inpatients to companies, communities, and universities reopening. He also says others are taking notice.
We know that there are other veterinarian schools that are looking at this. In particular, we know that, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, we hear now that Michigan State is trying to do similar kinds of things. As I said, this species, originated in animals. They think that it came from bats. So there's a lot that we can learn from the people that, are in the animal health space. So, the resource of Purdue University and the veterinarian school is just incredible. And the overlap that it has, with human health is just, it's amazing, the similarities. You got to appreciate the differences. But I really do think that, Indiana coming together like this, obviously we did our part, but others did as well. It's just, it's a great story. And if we can help other places across the country to be successful, we'll certainly do that.
A broker tells me additional partnerships with hospitals around the state are also possible as a result of COVID-19 testing certification at that Purdue lab. 3 Brownsburg High School graduates are doing their part to help provide protective face shields for first responders and hospital workers. Bradley McHugh and his brother Bruce Merrill and Kendall Antron own 3D printed products and run it out of McHugh's home. Normally, the company produces specialized 3D pieces for business signs, but since the coronavirus pandemic has hit, they have shifted that focus and now have all 22 of their 3D printers making masks around the clock. McHugh estimates they are printing 300 to 500 face shields every day, burning through nearly 116 pounds of plastic. Week by week, they have increased the number due to demand. Their goal is to print 10,000 masks or to keep printing until there's no more need, something McHugh says is no easy task.
Having 20+ printers running on these, it's a lot to go start them every single time. So us 3 have been starting them in shifts, staying up late, getting up early, and producing just as many as we can, keep the printers running. We want to inspire everybody to join together and give back to the community. And if we could be, kind of one of those people that, or companies that will help out. It's not about the money. It's not about anything else. It's really about just trying to help those people that, they work in, front lines right in front of the virus, and they bring it home, or they risk bringing it home to their families. It's just, I could never do that. I'm not built to do that, but this is what we can do to help out, and that's what we're going to do.
Now, thanks to donations of transparency sheets from local schools, McHugh, Merrill, and Antron have been able to exceed their initial goal of printing 1,000 face shields. Great story. Well, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has announced 2 programs to help America's farmers, including Indiana swine, cattle, and dairy producers who have been hit very hard by the economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. The initiative will also distribute food to families through the nation's food banks. The program, totaling $19 billion, funded through the $2 trillion coronavirus economic relief bill. USDA will offer $16 billion in direct grants to farmers and ranchers to compensate for short-term drops in demand and oversupply driven by the pandemic. The Trump administration also says it will purchase milk in addition to meat and fresh produce, totaling some $3 billion. Those products will be distributed to food banks, community organizations, and charities. Still ahead, a born and bred Hoosier preparing to take the helm as Indiana University's next athletics director. Bill Benner goes one-on-one with Michigan City native Scott Dolson. His plans on navigating collegiate sports during the pandemic and what's next for IU basketball and football. Stay with us. But next, the struggle is real for school corporations trying to engage with students through e-learning. First Makerspace says it is a solution with a STEM-based takeout twist. We'll show you what it is next in our Eye on Education segment. Curbside delivery, pickup orders, e-learning, all have become the norm during this new age of social distancing. But many school corporations are struggling to connect with students like they did in the pre-coronavirus days through labs and hands-on learning experiences. First Makerspace in Indianapolis says it has come up with a solution: takeout STEM kits. President and CEO Mary Reinhardt joins us now via Skype with more on how it all works. And Mary, as always, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Gary.
Yeah, first of all, and the First Makerspace is an incredible organization coming up on 5 years. Hard to believe it's been that long, but 5 years old. Yeah. You're in 100 schools. Talk about the business model, if you will, at First Makerspace.
Absolutely. So First Makerspace designs, builds, and sustains makerspaces across Indiana. And we really do that by engaging students in inquiry-based lessons that really give them the opportunity to explore their interests in the future. Yeah. And so these STEM kits really have allowed them to do that through this pandemic.
Yeah, we'll talk about, again, the need for a First Makerspace, for that hands-on learning experience and that, quote-unquote, that maker experience for young people, all the way from grade school all the way through high school and now into college, too.
Absolutely. So, e-learning, our educators have worked so hard to give our students valuable learning experiences during this time at home. Where First Makerspace really comes in is giving the students hands-on opportunities to engage, whether that's working with cardboard or working to explore how circuits work. When you're online, there's a disconnect where how your hands work. And we know that students learn best when they're working with their hands. And really that's where this idea came from, is giving students the opportunity to learn hands-on and providing everything they need, and while picking up their lunches that they pick up every week. That's where this idea came from. All right,
well, let's talk about it now, because obviously the pandemic has affected this hands-on learning model, if you will, but you've got these STEM takeout kits, which is a real pivot in your business model.
It is. We had to pivot, like many other small businesses. When we were forced to close our doors, we had to pivot how we engaged with schools, which are our main clients. And so instead of building makerspaces, we started offering these STEM takeout kits. And they've been a success so far. We were able to engage with the Boys and Girls Club in Bedford County, and they are offering these to their young learners, and they've been a huge success there. I've really enjoyed seeing the pictures that students have posted of all their creative inventions, really, that they've been able to make up using these STEM kits. That's really the joy for us, is seeing what students come up with. And we'd love to offer these to additional school districts and after-school programs across Indiana.
Yeah, you're also, I know, really putting a focus on professional development with something called the STEM Kitchen.
Yes, so if you're an educator and you're interested in these STEM kits, we have an opportunity for you to learn how to not only get the opportunity to use them, but also learn how to incorporate them in your classroom through the STEM Kitchen. We're partnering with the University of Indianapolis to offer the STEM Kitchen as a coding, circuitry, and crafting professional development. It's free to educators. It counts for university credit. And is offered through STEM Teach. And so if you're interested in that opportunity, you can go on the STEM Teach website or follow us on our social media handles for more information.
Final question for you, Mary. Everyone's talking about how the pandemic is really will serve to revolutionize and transform, in many ways, education. How do you see it changing First Makerspace and these hands-on experiences that are so important now, I think, across education?
Well, I think one of the things that we've been focusing on is continuing to develop online professional development opportunities for educators, as well as online curriculum for students. When it comes to hands-on learning, that can be challenging to do, but we really don't think that professional development is going to look the way that it looked prior to the pandemic ever again. And so we anticipate offering online opportunities for educators so that they can continue to learn at home in a way that is comfortable for them. And we anticipate being able to really revolutionize the way that we offer our professional development to meet that.
First Makerspace, an incredible organization here in Indianapolis, coming up on 5 years, now coming out with the STEM take-home kits. And Mary Reinhardt, the organization's president and CEO, thanks as always for joining us. Stay safe out there, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Well, the Evansville business community is mourning the loss of a well-known entrepreneur, John David Engelbrecht. Engelbrecht was the chairman and former CEO of South Central Inc. It's a radio and television broadcasting company that evolved into a diversified holding company with a national footprint. During his career, he served on the boards of directors for numerous companies and organizations and was inducted into the Junior Achievement Evansville Business Hall of Fame. John David Engelbrecht was 68. Well, coming up next, it is a dream job for Michigan City native Scott Dolson. He had hoped to play basketball at IU, settled on being a team manager, and now he's going to run the entire department. Meet IU's incoming director of intercollegiate athletics next in the business of sports.
When I received the notice that I was going to be the next athletic director, I really thought back to my days of when I started as a basketball manager. I grew up a lifelong fan of IU. I wanted to come to IU. I wanted to play here for Coach Knight.
No, Scott Dolson did not get to play basketball at IU. Instead, he'll soon take over not only that program, but all athletics at Indiana University. That was an interview Dolson did with the Big Ten Network shortly after being named Director of Intercollegiate Athletics for IU. And he's back in interview mode this week with Bill Benner in the business of sports. Bill, over to you.
Thanks, Gary, and we're delighted to have Scott join us as he prepares to succeed Fred Glass as IU's Director of Athletics, but also take over at an unprecedented time for the world in general and intercollegiate athletics in particular. And Scott, welcome to the program via Skype from Bloomington. And first of all, yeah, you didn't play basketball for IU, but you were a student manager on the '87 national champions, and you've been involved with IU Athletics, the varsity club, Deputy Director of Athletics, for a long, long time. So just talk about this tremendous opportunity.
Yeah, Bill, and first of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's a real honor and privilege to join you guys today. I'm a big fan of your shows. And it's interesting because when I do think back to the days of being a manager in the 80s and the '87 national championship, I didn't realize it at the time, but as I was preparing actually for this opportunity, I really drew back on those days because I really think having an opportunity to be around a program and so involved that really stands for all the things that we want today for all of our programs in terms of graduating our student athletes, playing by the rules, winning at the highest levels. And so for me to see that from the inside, I think really helps me now and really has helped me as I prepare for this job, because really what Indiana basketball was all about when I was a part of it is really what we want for all of our programs in terms of the holistic development of our student athletes. So I couldn't be more thrilled and honored to have this opportunity and look forward to the future for sure.
Well, Scott, when you took the job, you've talked about 5 pillars that you would emphasize during your tenure. Certainly top of the list, NCAA compliance, but also personal development of athletes, academic achievement, athletic achievement, certainly, and integrating athletics into the university community. If you could talk briefly about those pillars that you will bring to the job.
Yeah, Bill, and I give Fred Glass so much credit because when Fred came on board, he really reestablished that foundation for us in IU athletics. We had drifted a little bit. We had been through a lot of change, and Fred just did an incredible job of reestablishing those 5 priorities, like you said. And with me being named as his successor, my goal is to build on those priorities and to grow from that foundation. And as I said, I'm extremely grateful to Fred because through the ability to be by his side and be his quote unquote right-hand person, I was able to feel and help develop those priorities. And now our challenge is to make certain that we can help all of our student athletes maximize this opportunity in all facets. We want to win. We want to win in the classroom. We want to certainly win as we personally develop our student athletes. And obviously we want to win academically because at the end of the day, that's why we're here. So our challenge moving forward is to build on those priorities. But again, I just want to make certain, I mentioned how grateful I am to Fred for the way he established those and laid that foundation, and it's given us some real momentum in terms of moving forward,
Scott,
and looking towards the future.
Scott, you take over on July 1st, but job prep well underway, and you mentioned that you've been involved in many, almost daily conversations with the Big Ten, again, as we enter a very uncertain period for the future of athletics and especially college athletics.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's really been a great opportunity for me to have this time. And one of the things that maybe a lot of fans don't realize, and they probably just couldn't because they don't see behind the scenes, but the Big Ten is extremely close. In fact, when I was notified by President McRobbie that I was going to be granted this opportunity, I heard from Mike Bobinski, the athletic director at Purdue, within 10 minutes of that announcement going out. One of the first messages, and it was an incredible message from him, congratulating me and offering his help. And I think that's just a great example of the camaraderie and collaboration that happens in the Big Ten. So as you mentioned, and again, a credit to Fred, ever since that I was named as Fred's successor, I've joined daily calls with the other Big Ten athletic directors and been able to participate. And again, as we navigate through these challenging times, I can't tell you how impressed I've been just listening and participating in those calls.
And Scott, I know, again, we don't know for certain how things are going to unfold, certainly in what manner they're going to unfold. IU Athletics has reached out to football season ticket holders to offer them some remedies in case the games are played or in case they're not.
Yeah, what we've done, Bill, is we want to make certain that we tried to turn an extremely challenging situation, to say the least, into an opportunity for us to get better. And we wanted to, first of all, provide flexibility to our loyal season ticket holders and donors, and flexibility in terms of deadlines, flexibility in terms of payment plans, and really work with everyone to keep them connected during this challenging time. And in addition, and I'm really proud of our ticket office staff, our varsity club development staff, that they're really working hard from home and really using this as a customer service opportunity. And we've talked about that at length. Is this a time where we really need to make certain we're connecting, that we have a strong outreach program, and again, flexibility is the key term, because we all know it's going to come back at some point. There's a lot we can't control right now, but what we can control is our customer service and our flexibility. And we're really making a big effort with that for sure.
Well, Scott, I've known you personally for a long time. I wish you nothing but the best, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you personally on the Bloomington campus sooner rather than later. Scott Dolson, the new athletic director at Indiana University, thanks for being on the program.
Hey, thanks so much, Bill, and please stay safe and healthy, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Go IU.
You got it. Thanks, Scott. And Gary, back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you. Well, Evansville-based Old National Bancorp is reporting first quarter net income of more than $22 million. That's down sharply from $56.3 million during the same period last year. Now, the parent of Old National Bank is also announcing it is committing $1.2 million to COVID-19 relief efforts. CEO Jim Ryan says in addition to a focus on the bottom line, the bank is also focusing on supporting clients and communities during the pandemic. The bank says it is committing $600,000 on meeting the immediate needs in communities in which it has a presence, with an emphasis on low to moderate income areas. An additional $600,000 will come in the form of Old National Bank Foundation grant funding, which will focus on longer-term needs within those communities. And I'll be right back after this. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Gary Dick. Stay safe, stay positive, and go out and make it a successful week.
Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is a production of Grow Indiana Media Ventures with support from WFYI Productions.